I'm Cameron Scott. I'm the brand chief at GoDaddy. I've been in role for about 2 years now, and this is also my second gathering. And I gotta tell you, I am incredibly excited to take this stage. But before I talk, I think that I need to make a confession. I don't think that GoDaddy is a cult brand. It's true. We're a big brand. We're a successful brand. We've been growing in double digits year over year for as long as I can remember. We're a healthy brand, an international brand. We're a brand that I think is really important to the future of the economy because of our customers, many of them you. For me personally, GoDaddy's a brand I love deeply, but none of that makes us a cult brand. And so I think that begs the question, and it's why I had to talk about it before I got into GoDaddy specifically, why am I on the stage? Like, why is GoDaddy here at a cult gathering when we're not a cult brand? At least not yet. And the answer is, I believe really, really deeply that there's only two kinds of businesses out there. There are businesses that are transforming, and there are businesses that are transforming and just don't know it. And GoDaddy has the absolute privilege of knowing that we're evolving. We're purposefully evolving. So, and the transformation that's happening right now is a transformation that I think will have a lot of relative data and insights for what your businesses are going through. Before I jump into that though, I should just share a little bit about GoDaddy. This first slide, I joke, we're an internet company. We're 161 years old from internet years. Anyone know how old GoDaddy is? Anyone? Super close. Someone say 21. We're 23 years old this year, and that is very old in internet years. Since 1997. We haven't always been a big advertiser, but for the last 14 years, we have advertised very aggressively. So while most of the Super Bowls, we were in 7 Super Bowls, most of those, or all of them were before my time as brand chief. People kindly have said we're textbook worthy. Sometimes it's been cringe worthy. So, but we're a big advertiser. A number of you are our customers. So most of you probably know what a domain is, something like cultideas.com or thecultgathering.com, that's a domain. We manage 78 million domains. That's 22% of the entire world. So, and from a domain perspective, we're 10 times bigger than any competitor. I'm not going to bore you with technical stuff, but I thought it was worth mentioning. Because of domains, GoDaddy is an important part of the backbone of the internet itself. So we manage about 1/3 of the name traffic for the entire internet. And that's an important part about GoDaddy as well. We're in 100 countries and 27 languages now. And just for a little bit of context, we're 127 times more subscribers than Salesforce. And that is not a dig on Salesforce at all. I love that company. So, but just to give a little perspective on the scale that we operate on, our customers, and you guys are a number of them, they're not everybody. And I would have been shocked if everyone would have raised their hand and said, oh, we're all customers. So we have a great potential customer base. There's probably 500 million people in the world who are like Marcella. We call them everyday entrepreneurs. And there are people who have an idea and they want to make it real. Marcella's a perfect example. She doesn't have a trust fund. She doesn't have an Ivy League panel of people advising her on her business. She doesn't have an exit strategy or round A funding. She's not a startup. She's a fashion designer. She's a solopreneur. And she wants to take her ideas and make them real under her own will and initiative. I'm going to show you a really quick clip. I cut it down from a longer video, but just to give you a little sense of who we think our core customers are.
I was born in Monterrey, and I grew up in Guadalajara. My mom would get me this puffy sleeve dress and pleated skirt, and it wasn't my style at all, so I would just grab my seam ripper and take it all apart, and everything by hand. I would just come out of my room. My mom was like, what? And I started developing that love for creating and just using my hands to create stuff. My name is Marcella Dyer. I am creator of the project Wild Woman. Wild Woman was born in 2017 after I attended the Women's March here in Portland. It was super inspiring for me. I felt this unity and support. I came to the studio next day and I thought, you know what, I want to create something meaningful instead of seasonal. I wanted to create something that has a message and that can inspire as well and empowers. Then I visioned right away this collection with women's portraits.
So that was only 45 seconds, but you didn't hear her mention once money. She's not here, her cause is not to get rich, is not to make a ton of money. So her focus is community-based. And that's what I hear from our customers every day. I've yet, in all my years at GoDaddy, to hear anybody who has a big financial goal who is a customer. And so what do we want to do? I'm not going to read all this on the screen for you here, but on the left side, on the blue, that's our corporate strategy, the first 45 words of our corporate strategy. And I'll just pull out some words. Champion entrepreneurs, empower them, give them sage guidance, seamlessly intuitive experiences to help them name, create, grow, manage their ventures, a thriving exponential power of a community of bringing all these entrepreneurs together. That's what we're trying to do as a company. On the red side, though, is what I understand about most people, and probably most of you in the room know about GoDaddy. So even those of you who are customers, always the lowest price for a domain. Seen their logo on a race car. Probably think Danica Patrick is still a spokesperson. Probably seen an advertisement, so probably seen a Super Bowl, maybe made you cringe a little bit. I picked this picture for a particular reason. It's because down in the bottom corner there you can see Devin Edwards. He's a photographer from Dallas who took this photo, and he's our customer. And he's a great representation of the challenge because Devin is completely happy with GoDaddy. He doesn't have any problems with GoDaddy. He's happy as a customer, but he's only a domain customer. You look at everything that we want to do for Devin on the left, so he's a completely satisfied customer, and yet it's only a tiny drop in the bucket of what GoDaddy does now. And it is a challenge for people like Devin who just use GoDaddy as a utility. I'm not going to bore you with tons of charts, but I'm going to show you one chart because I think it's really important. So just a couple things, because it's small print here. This is a chart for our overall brand impression when I took the brand role in 2018. So that arrow points to January of 2018. The blue line is 0. And from an impression standpoint, I believe that's about as bad as it can be. I mean, you can see negative down below, but I think that actually might be better, right? We talk about the opposite of love isn't hate, right? It is indifference. And when I talk to customers, like the photographer I just showed you, he doesn't hate GoDaddy. He's totally satisfied with GoDaddy. But he also doesn't think about GoDaddy to help him as a partner. And so there's a deep incongruity between our corporate strategy and where our brand is. And that says we have to grow. We have to evolve our brand. And so we decided we're going to make a change. And we decided we're not going to just dwell on any past mistakes, and there have been plenty. So we're not going to dwell on old Super Bowl commercials. We're going to focus on the future, and we're going to go towards the future as aggressively as we can. I love this quote from Socrates. The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. And I picked this particular picture. Obviously, this is not a real picture of Socrates. They didn't have cameras back then for any millennials. This is a picture from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Most of you in the room are probably too young to even remember the film. But I picked it for a specific reason. And that's because when I'm talking to my team, when I'm talking to the brand team and the marketing team at GoDaddy, I say, we're on Keanu Reeves' journey. That's the journey that we're on. Keanu, of course, was in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. He was in some movies that could have been good, except for him early on. And I know it's hard to say he's the darling of the internet now. How dare I even suggest he was in bad films? He was in good films that he ruined, like Bram Stoker's Dracula. And then the same thing happened. People didn't hate Keanu Reeves. They just didn't think about him. And because of that, he was actually banned from certain parts of Hollywood for a long time. Fox Studios didn't hire him for 11 years. And in that time, he started looking inward. Where are his strengths? So where could he grow his own character and his own talents and slowly and surely year after year, made the right decisions again and again and again. He started paying attention and making the right decisions repeatedly. And I think that for GoDaddy, that's the journey that we need to be on, right? So I'm not here to tell you that we have changed the brand completely. We are in the midst of our transformation here. This is my shorthand for the transformation that we're making. If they're not thinking about us, it's because we're a utility. But people like Maricela, they're living a lifestyle. She's not doing this to make money. She's doing it because this is important to her and her life. And wherever there is a lifestyle, there's an opportunity for a lifestyle brand. So, and for everyday entrepreneurship, we want to be that lifestyle brand. If we're going to fulfill a corporate strategy, we have to have a brand that actually matches that. And what does that mean? Even more shorthand. We need to move from a value-based company, one that sells on discounts, and the cheapest price, or the best renewal rates, to values, and actually start showing the values. I've tried to boil this down into a simple kind of three-legged stool of the process that we've been working on. It starts with strategy. I said strategy that's solid as fuck. So because it is so important. I found that even when there's total company buy-in, nothing moves without a really, really tight corporate strategy that's tied to a tight brand strategy. Culture is incredibly important. I'll talk about that in a second. And then creative at insane velocity. So I have a long strategy background and I love strategy, but I have to say that the strategy process for brand, even after we had deep buy-in, even after everyone on our leadership team could see the gap between our brand and our aspirations from a corporate standpoint, getting spend to happen, getting things to actually move was an incredible challenge and required a tremendous amount of work. There are days where I felt like I was just explaining that water is wet and that the sky is blue, and then having to pull out 35 pages of data to prove it. So I'm seeing some heads nod. So it could be incredibly difficult. The first step we had to do, we know that our customers are everyday entrepreneurs. We had to know everything we possibly could about them. And we dug deep into understanding their psychographics, how they start, what moves them along their journey. So from dreaming about what they're going to do to that moment that sparks them to say, I'm going to do it. Maricela's was when she was at a women's event in Portland. There's always a spark when they're going to go do it and they're going to go name it, they're going to start it. We learned everything we could do about it, and then we built a business case for brand investment. The short of it is, you can absolutely do it. So if your company's not ready to just spend money on brand, there is a business case that's absolutely possible. And I wasn't sure of that. It's very difficult. As a DR company, we were so focused on 12 months. We had every model possible on what returns on investment were in 12 months. And frankly, I don't know if for years we'd ever looked out past 12 months. But we did. We looked at 18 months, we looked at 24 months, and there was a fantastic case for brand investment and the power of investing in our brand could do. And then we wrapped that all together in a brand strategy. These 3 documents that we made, over 1,000 pages. So way more than maybe you would feel that you have to, but it was what we needed to do to start moving things. Fortunately, those 1,000 pages for me can boil down to a single slide for you guys. It comes down to this. The strategies, I'd rather be 9 people's favorite things than 100 people's 9th favorite things. For GoDaddy, we couldn't just move our engagement scores a little bit higher, have a little bit better NPS score. We needed to set a strategy where the goal was be their favorite. And that's a ambitious strategy and one that we've been making great progress on but have a long ways to go. But once we had that strategy, we knew, all right, let's go out and look at our customers. So let us remember the values of our customers and start showing them. And the first thing we did is made sure that what our customers were about, we were about. And I'll show you a little bit of that.
We are about being detail-oriented, highly efficient, and always hungry for more. Even if you started in a small kitchen with a basic recipe. We are about building a loving and selfless community through trial, error, and chance encounters. Ready to embark on new adventures through song, dance, crafts, and lessons. studying life outside the classroom. We are about the innate love for the natural world, believing all of the resources we consume on Earth should have a positive impact. Being a live wildflower child, knowing it's about wanting to work on your mind, body, and spirit, and reaping the benefits from doing so. We are about the family-owned and operated, and taking things head-on as they come into your life. So take your time, look around, and learn all there is to know about us. We got your back, so you can focus on the direction. GoDaddy, make your own way.
So I know that went fast. If you didn't catch it, we made our company's manifesto out of pieces of all of our customers' About Us pages. And it works. It represents who we are. It represents who we want to be. But it's certainly not enough just to go cut and paste stuff out of your customers' About Us and say it. You absolutely have to live it. And for anyone who attended Douglas Atkins' talk on Culting of Brands last night, he had a section around living your purpose. He couldn't be more right. So absolutely brilliant insights into it. And it's a core pillar of what we need to do at GoDaddy. We're an old company from an internet standpoint, 23 years old. It's easy to forget once you start getting your first million and then your 10th million customer. So, and going towards your 20 millionth customer, it's easy to forget about their values and actually living it and their world and understanding their journey. And so culture was an incredibly important second pillar for us. I'm just going to give two examples, and one of them very easy to do, one of them very bold. The easy one's up here on the screen. We built customer love walls for every office inside GoDaddy. They're 20 to 30 foot long walls covered with customer photographs, and then a centerpiece for each one of them, a digital picture frame. This works kind of like an internal corporate Instagram, so of photos of customers. The trick is we've asked every employee to adopt a customer. And not just adopt them and take one picture, but follow along with their journey and document their journey. So on this internal tool where we have water cooler talk now. When I see Ben here in the Kirkland office where I'm out of, I could say, oh, I saw that new picture of Jeff from Hungry Animal Lighting. Like, what's going on there? Like, how's that going? We can now have conversations again the way we were when we were 23 years ago in 1997 about when we just had a handful of customers. Now we can actually have customers that we're talking about specifically every day, and they're real humans and we're caring about them. Quite easy to do, just a technology thing. Much harder and at least equally as important. We decided that we're going to ask every GoDaddy employee to start a side hustle. Start a business of their own. Yes. Start a philanthropy of their own. Start a creative project of your own. And go do it. Go make it happen. And you can carve out time in your work to do it. It's like Google's 20, except for it's your own thing. And that's a very dangerous thing. I don't know of any other company that does. In fact, companies that I've been at before, AT&T Wireless, Microsoft, Yahoo, you have to get special written permission from legal to do a side hustle of any kind. Here we're encouraging everyone to do it. And it is dangerous. We've since the 2 years we've started, we have lost people to their thing. Their side hustle took off. But we don't think of that as a failure. We actually call that graduation. And we really, really mean it. Like if your side hustle is taken off and it's going so well that you just have to go do it yourself and you've fallen in love with entrepreneurship so much, that is a victory for GoDaddy. And that is a victory for our culture. And it's something that's working really well. And it doesn't seem to have impacted productivity or anything negatively at all. And everything that we've taken from our customer photography, so to our own internal folks who are going out and doing side hustles, we're documenting everything, and all of our outbound media is all customers now, 100%. So, and we've just started making love letters to them and sending them out in social media, sending them out any way we can. one little clip of others, all customer photography, all of them taken from GoDaddy employees. I do have a photo team, so some of them are more professional than others, but literally everything there with customers from employees, and it's working. And of course, our creativity needs to come at insane volumes if we're going to move the needle at any kind of speed. And that's the third part of the pillars that I want to share with you guys, is the creative matters a lot. You can see the values in creative. And so one of the things I've been doing over the last 2 years is building GoDaddy Studios, a very hyper-focused internal agency, taking all of our customers and bringing them to life with joy and with pride. And we went from the typical external agency pace of having a few hundred high-end pieces of creative a year to last year put out 20,000, just a hair under 20,000 unique pieces of creative in a single year. So, and it's absolutely working. It's going out into every channel that we have. And we're seeing, obviously the creative's making it to the homepage too, but the important thing here is that we're seeing query volume at the highest level we've had since our IPO. Like, we're seeing brand query absolutely skyrocket simply from taking all of our customer stories and just putting them out there at the highest velocity we can and showing every one of these stories, if nothing else, that we just champion them, that we love their lifestyle. We think their lifestyle is incredibly important. So we think it's important for the future of the economy. We think it's important for the future of people's souls. So to be able to be in control of their own lives, and it's showing up. And I have look again here. I think that from a look again standpoint, though we haven't finished our transition yet, we thought it was time to actually signal to the world that there's something really new to come look at again. And so about 5 weeks ago, we launched a new logo just to get the world to look again. We call the new mark the Go. So it is a statement of championship. Go take your first step. Go take your next step. We've got your back. It's also in the shape of a heart, you probably noticed. So simply customer love. So and representing the joy that entrepreneurs feel when they're actually making their own way. I wanted to also show you just a quick 90-second video of how all three pillars of the strategy come together. How the strategy and the culture and the creative all wrapped together, so into a year's worth of campaign, crammed into 90 seconds. proud of the job that we are doing in actually manifesting the values of our customers now. And it wasn't about artificially just jumping onto their values. It was about, for us, finding it again. So finding what got us into the business in 1997. So it's always been the everyday entrepreneur. Now we just do so much more for them, and we want to not just be a utility for them, but a partner. This is the same chart that I showed earlier, now with just 2 years of progress. Am I satisfied with this? No. But I am incredibly happy and proud of the work that we've been able to do, and in 2 years actually move the brand dial 20 points, absolutely. And if I have any message to wrap up with, it's simply that you can move your brand. Like if you have a brand that hasn't been moving, if you have a brand that's at 0 or has been at 0, it's absolutely movable. So I think we have a long ways to go. I'd love to be back here in a couple years. So showing us up around the Apple and the Nike and the places that we really want to get to. But now I can go with confidence. And we're going, like, well, I'm in 2020 from a brand leadership standpoint with a tremendous amount of confidence that we've got the strategy. We understand the culture that we need to have. So we're rolling with creative, and we can do it. So, and I think it's certainly something that everyone in this room can do as well. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. So we're going to be taking questions from the audience at hashtag TGS GoDaddy, as it says on the screen back there. While we're waiting for some of that to come in, one thing I've wanted to talk about with you, Cam, as we've gotten to know each other, I'm learning a little bit, but I think it would be really great to hear, is that this evolution, this journey that you guys have been on externally makes a lot of sense, and I know it's building up a lot of excitement. But also understanding the size of GoDaddy as an organization, and I know what it's like to affect change inside of a large bureaucratic organization. Maybe just talk a little bit about what that's been like from a commitment perspective. It seems like there's excitement internally, but how do you get everybody to not only commit to the change, but get them to remain excited about it as maybe you hit some bumps in the road?
Oh, absolutely. Boy, where to begin? Here's where I'll begin. When I woke up this morning, and actually before I went to bed last night, I said, I'm going to get up. It's beautiful out. I'm going to run. I did not. So, it's cold, and the bed is so comfortable. I think that analogy works fairly well for GoDaddy. We absolutely have leadership buy-in across the board. So there isn't any other senior leader at GoDaddy who doesn't deeply believe in what we're doing. So just like I deeply believed last night I should run. So doing it is a very different thing. So, and doing it versus believing it, for me has all been about proving it every step of the way. It's the first thing. So my recommendation is find partners. There's partners somewhere in the company. We found tremendous partners with our finance team, with our business analytics team, who absolutely believed as much as everyone else and knew a way to get us from point A in the way we spend, for example, or the way we're organized. So, and helped us move along. And every step of the way, every win, gains belief that not only are we on the right track, so from a strategic direction standpoint, but that we can actually move the needle. So, and I can tell you certainly, investing in getting really smart with stuff like YouGov data helps a tremendous amount too, to show that that needles can be moved. So even people who believed it in our company can be a little skeptical of, are we the ones to do it? Can we actually move this needle?
It's interesting because really sort of what you're talking about is soft selling. So were you soft selling before you got executive buy-in, or did you get executive buy-in and then start soft selling?
Yeah, that's a good question. I tend to, my instincts are not to soft sell at all. My instincts are bull in a china shop. It's just, we all know what we're going to do, let's just go do it. Yeah. And if we were a startup, we probably could go that way. The challenge is I don't know exactly what we're worth. I don't pay attention too much to that, but something like $15 billion. So let's say we're a $15 billion company. All of us from a leadership standpoint have responsibility for that $15 billion company. So we can't fuck it up, people. Like, we just can't. So, and so I think buy-in happens at almost every level. So though I've only been in the brand chief role for 2 years, I've been at GoDaddy for 7 years. So I was leading business strategy and some other stuff for the first 5 years. And I was absolutely soft selling during all of that, getting us queued up to be, we're going to be at a point where we're going to want to do brand evolution. And then as I took the brand chief role, I launched into pretty aggressive hard selling with our leadership team and finding partners. It wasn't a big sell to find the partners, so it was just critical to find the partners so that you weren't a single voice in the company, right? So, and the single voice I wasn't the one voice for change at GoDaddy. The single voice is, we should make this change. Something like, we should encourage everyone to have a side hustle. So we should actually ask every employee to have a side hustle.
Which is crazy bold.
Big things.
Right?
It's very bold.
To even suggest
that. It's unheard of. And you can imagine in your companies who is going to resist that. So
for sure.
Across the board, people managers are going to say, I'm already overloaded. It's like, I can't have my people having any time to do their own thing. Human resources is going to say, we're going to lose people. They're going to go off and do their own thing. And legal is going to say, we can't have, like, they're going to solicit inside the office, and they can't have solicitation. And everyone has a good reason to say no. Yeah. And it's finding those people who can help you say yes, and so you're not a single voice in that. And you build a chorus, and that chorus sings.
Got a really good question here for you. So, was it intentional to become a lifestyle brand for SMB, and in doing so, staying away from enterprise to avoid competition like AWS and Azure?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. No, I don't think that we have any interest in mid-market or enterprise at all. Frankly, we think about that kind of like, and I spent a little time at Yahoo in the olden days. Yeah. If you think about what Yahoo was, like Yahoo, I know it was like, their page was about like what Britney Spears wore to the Oscars, and then Google came along, and captured that long tail. And nobody else could have done it before then, right? It was all just head content, MSN, Yahoo. That's what the whole internet was. For GoDaddy, we are the long tail of business, and that's way, way more interesting than the big front of business. So if you ever hear someone at GoDaddy talking about mid-market, we're talking about someone with 10 employees. That's huge for us. So almost say 75% of our customers are solopreneurs, and that's the world. So there's about 500 million entrepreneurs out there in the world, the everyday kind, and they're out there on their own. They may have a 1099 or a little bit of help occasionally, but the world of small business is not any way like the world of big business. So, and the important thing, and I mentioned this as I talked, it's the motivations. So their motivations are in no way to grow and get huge. I've never heard anyone ever, none of our customers ever said, I want to dominate, I want to crush. And a lot of them are like, hey, you're a restaurateur, you want to open up a second restaurant? God, no, why would I want that? Yeah. Right? I have all the customers I want. So it's a totally different world. We've never even considered going into that. And it's one of the things, it's why we believe that we can actually move into the lifestyle space for them, because we have no interest. We've never tried to go up market. We're not interested anyway in up market at all.
Somebody from the audience is a GoDaddy customer, and they're very curious about how in the world you guys have such a good customer service team.
Oh, that's incredibly easy. Care a lot and make sure that the metrics that you're gauging your care people on are the right ones. So I mentioned Yahoo. I also spent a long time at Microsoft. So, and the number one metric for care at Microsoft is how quickly you can get them off the phone. And that's normal. I'm not calling them out as something particularly special, but that's true. That's the key metric was speed to to completion. GoDaddy only has one metric for our care, and it's customer satisfaction, which means that you may be on the phone for an hour. So, and not only that, you may call for something that's incredibly tangential to GoDaddy, if it even has a slight connection to GoDaddy. So our GoDaddy guides, which is what we call them, have the ability to help you for as long as you need, and they'll spend hours on the phone. That's actually what first gave us the clue that we actually could start winning the right to be a lifestyle brand, because what we hear, not from people who are buying, like when you're coming to GoDaddy and buying, it's that perception slide. It's those are the things you know, but people who have been our customers for a while, the number one thing they tell us is we take care of them better than anyone else, and that's all around our philosophy of care.
Going back a little bit to this idea of encouraging people to get their own side hustle. You talked a little bit about what you had to go through in regards to making sure that there was a single point and getting people on the same page. But can you unpack that a little bit? Like, what was the process? Like, and maybe there were some difficult moments, and how did you go about getting by? Maybe just a few more details about that.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it certainly wasn't just me at the company. So, and I think at any biggish kind of company, we're not a huge company, we have about 9,000 employees, but it's big enough that no one leader is going to drive a change that big. It has to be a bit of a coalition. And so a number of us started talking kind of early on in this brand transformation process, specifically about the things that Douglas Atkins was talking about we want to get back to the original love that we've had for these customers. So it's not that it went away, it's that it left our vernacular. It left our lexicon, because all of a sudden it's millions. And when you're talking about millions of people, they're just numbers. And so we want to talk, like, how can we do that? And things like the customer love walls were really easy, and they started us having kind of conversations. But at some point we realized if we really want to have the deepest kind of empathy, so it's like, Harley encouraging, their employees to ride Harleys. Like, you want to live the lifestyle. And that's tricky. Like, if you're a tech company employee, you may have done that all your life. You may have literally never started up anything on your own, and that could be normal too. Most people won't. I hate to break it to you, but at least 88% of you in the room will never start anything of your own. So, and that's okay, right? So, but it's a niche. Yeah. So, fortunately for GoDaddy, it's a niche that still has at least 500 million potential customers. But
just a small segment.
Yeah, but it's a niche, and so that coalition of people who understood that we could go so much farther if every GoDaddy employee understood about all of the phases of the journey, and they got to struggle with it too. It's a big thing for GoDaddy because part of being a real supporter of the lifestyle of every entrepreneur is not just being there. Like, you saw a lot in in the creative I shared with you. It's a lot of joy. So, and we know that entrepreneurs are hungry for that sense of joy. And so from an advertising standpoint, you see a lot of that, but that's not the whole picture of it. There's a virtuous cycle that's really, really important. Like, think about it this way. Just picture any friend. This year you asked them to help move, they weren't available. You're having some hard times and you needed their advice, they weren't available. You reached out to them a number of times and just never heard back from them, and now it's your birthday party. Do you want that person to come? Like, no, they're not just there for the high points. So, and the same thing is true for a brand. Like, brands that are just there for the high points, so aren't there that much at all. And so for us, it wasn't just, it could be easy to understand, oh, we got to celebrate with them. We wanted all of our employees to understand the real challenges that come from trying to make something, just take an idea and try to make it real. And you go through these highs of, like, for domain set, like, naming is a high, right? I've named it, I've started something. So, and then the realities of, like, oh God, how am I going to do this? So there's some deep lows in entrepreneurship. It can also be very lonely. And so having everyone understand the virtuous cycle and how we have to power through that was ultimately what sold the idea that it was really important that we actually go that extreme measure and be the company that encourages every one of our employees to do a side hustle. So, and even our CEO, who's new as of 5 or 6 months now. He's never done a side hustle himself. He's starting one up.
Last question.
Okay.
What was the specific or pivotal moment when you knew that you had to push forward on the strategy and you could no longer just sit? They're saying no longer sit on it, but I think idle would be another way of saying it.
Well, that's an incredibly easy one because I actually shared it with you guys in slide form. When I showed you the slide that I called the rub,
Yeah.
the first 45 words of our corporate strategy, there's nothing that is so blatantly dichotomous than looking at our customer perception today and what we intend to be.
Yeah.
So, and it was as simple as that. So from a clarity standpoint, it was simply putting up, all right, this is the 45 words that we all agree to, that is our top priority as a company. So let's look at customer perception. Where are they? So, and can we continue to be a value-based company? So can we continue to be a utility, which has been really successful. Like I've said, we've been growing double digits, so we're not doing this because we're not growing anymore, or we're in, everyone has headwinds, but we're not in trouble or anything. This is if we want to move ahead as a brand. So like once you have, 22% of the internet's domains,
Yeah.
it starts getting really difficult to get 23%. Like at some point, like you're really topping out of what you can even realistically do. And so
It's a
you wanna
total
grow.
available
Yeah.
market, right?
And honestly, if you care, like you grow to care about this group so much, it's like you're gonna have to go show it. You're gonna have to do something different.
That's it. Thank you, Ken.
My pleasure.
Yeah.